Dear Dale and Annetta, I taped some Merle Haggard records to listen to on the way home from Texas. On one of them is a song entitled In the Good Old Days When Times Were Bad. He grew up in the labor camp of California, and our life was a picnic compared to what he describes. But there are two lines in the song that depict my thoughts of the good old days so perfectly. No amount of money could buy from me the memories I have of then. No amount of money could pay me to go back and do it again. Annetta and I are so extremely lucky to have you, Dale, willing to exert so much effort to make a gathering special. Thanks for all the hard work and planning. Last night as I drove in, I wished I could write a letter right then while my mind was on the good old days. It seemed as though I had been in a different world. It seemed as though it had taken those several days last week to shift down and get my mind zeroed in. Then it was perfect. I had all day to think about it in the atmosphere of Daddy's pickup. I wondered if Annetta would say, no amount of money could buy from me the memories I have of them. Dale and I had such things as spraying mesquites with Daddy, working calves, riding horses, spending hours swimming in the tank, dogs hunting, skunks with Cy and Zap and families, hunting rattlesnakes with Cy and Jap and families, Dale working for the highway, Brian working for Tom Moore, combining the last years of the thrashing machine. I ran a bundle wagon. Dale had to be around doing something, driving the tractor. Brian drove horses, raking hay, hauling hay, and cultivating for several years. I doubt if Dale was old enough at the time. Hunting rabbits, fishing, spending time at Cy and Japs and Don and Bert. Killing hogs, we would scald them in a barrel, then pull and four-wheel trailer in the garage, and everybody stood around it and cut meat and made sausage. Helping Mother make lye soap, playing in the big barn at Japs, going up every Saturday after the mail ran to get Edith or Marza to read the funny papers to us, burning mesquites, hauling and chopping wood, shocking feed, grain, stacking feed, getting drip cans and barrels ready for Daddy, Cy and Jap to make their middle of the night runs, pumping up tires with the old hand pumps, turning the forge blower in the old shop, fetching the turkeys every night from the Moore's place, killing rats at the big barn, etc. Seems like I spent hundreds of hours on horseback with the dogs. At the time, I thought it was wonderful, even when the mules ate the oilcloth top off the car and we sneaked into town to get some more recover because the folks were embarrassed. I thought it was great fun. Do you remember when we had the old cars and used to get stuck coming and going to town all the time before they improved the roads? But I wonder what Annetta did when her time and she thinks about those old days. Dale introduced a whole new idea to me on this trip. It is a revelation for me. I had always followed the crowd and thinking, poor old Daddy, forced out of the pocket of his brother's protection and fellowship by a wife who rebelled against the system. Blue, unimaginative, uncreative, not mechanically, and just a worker ant. How could I have known him so well and totally missed the whole point? He didn't just sit in the porch swing and brood as I thought he did. He did some of that, but also he thought and planned how to overcome the disadvantages of having nothing to work with and accomplish what I now suddenly realize to be amazing and innovative feats. He was only one step away from an innovation that even now that bunch down there can't even comprehend. He killed the trees, cleared the trees. No one else thought the clearing necessary, especially me when I had to help do it. His ground was one of the few places that could have been mowed with the shredder. It would have to be done before the broomweed stalks got big and totally controlled the broomweeds, mesquites, and everything else. He could have tripled his pasture productivity. But the things he did accomplish are now outstanding to me. He literally created an untried industry by taking an 85 horsepower 1937 Ford sedan that I turned upside down while dodging a skunk, and that he had jacked the roof back up with house jacks and a two-wheel trailer, and created the system, capital, and equipment necessary to jerk himself out of poverty. To my knowledge, he had almost zero encouragement or acknowledgement or praise. He figured out how to bid jobs at a profit. I couldn't begin to bid one of those jobs and sell people on the fact that it would work. And that even though it was more expensive than air spraying, it was a better way to go. I knew that he did these things, but the significance did not occur to me. I want to share with you something that made my mouth drop open when I thought if it on the way back yesterday. Daddy figured out how to roll a drum from the ground up onto a trailer, raise the drum up, haul it to the site, lay it down, fill the can, pour the kerosene, tip the drum, lower another one, empty it, then go back to the barrel area and start all over again. Think of this parallel. When I started in the soft water business, I had a 1957 Ford 1/2 ton pickup. Delivering the tanks was no problem for the first few customers because I just laid a few tanks in the bed of the pickup, raised the tailgate, and ran the route. As the business grew, there was no way I could make enough trips to make the deliveries. Everybody else had larger trucks with tank racks, but I could hardly afford to just keep the pickup running. So I left the tailgate down, laid 6 tanks on it, stood 2 rows of 6 tanks upright against the cab and tied them so they would not fall, stood 3 tanks upright in the front of each fender well, and made a rack to keep them standing. I would deliver the 6 off the tailgate, set them off in the street, lay the first row 6 down, pull the other row over the top onto the tailgate, lift the ones on the street over and set them against the cab, stand up the other 6 and tie them, and just keep on trucking. I had a lot of 40 tank routes in time, and we used that system for about 3 years until we bought a 1.5 ton truck with racks and could carry 50 tanks. Over the years, I have talked business with a high percentage of the soft water operators in the West, and none of those have done it like that, or in my opinion, would have even considered it. That's over 2 tons of tanks, and handling the tanks enough ties each trip to run several routes. Knowing what I know now, if someone asked me what the chances are of running a route system in that manner for more than a week, we didn't have a backup pickup, I would say the chances of it succeeding would be 0 minus a bunch. Now we have 1 ton trucks with racks that carry 30 tanks and make 2 trips, one heavy and one light, and a 50 tank route in just a small area of town is a day's work for a man. The routes in Phoenix at the start covered the whole town. I gave Daddy credit for teaching me to work hard, but it never occurred to me one time before this trip that he also taught me the basis of the system. It sort of startles me. As you observe our peers that are still in IBEX, it is easy to see that the big thing Mother and Daddy gave us was opportunity. To know that there was opportunity for something better for our lot in that circumstance, in my opinion, took more than foresight. I give Mother credit for almost of that. but it seems to me that Mother was afforded some degree of credit for most of that. Maybe not all she deserves, but some. I believe that I, along with most everyone else, sold Daddy way short. I just mentioned opportunity. I laughed and laughed about this towards the end of yesterday. I had planned to shut it down and sleep in El Paso, so I had a full cup of tobacco juice in one hand. That I was looking forward to emptying when I stopped. When I found myself on the El Paso freeway, I discovered two things. The no-dose pills that I had been bug-eyed as a full bullfrog, and I was keyed up like a racehorse, and no way was I going to get to sleep. Also, I discovered if I could maintain a 50-plus speed, I could stay in the fast lane and get through town in a hurry. There were lots of cars and a little margin for error. I had spent a two hands on the wheel heads up day because I had discovered by following Dale that 55 miles per hour was really 62 on the pickup speedometer. I decided to go 57 all the way, so I was holding it just over the 64 mark. At the speed, it was sort of like riding a Bronco. Everything would be great, and then there would be an uneven space on the road, and I would feel the steering neutralized. The pickup would take off like a shot in some instant undeterminable direction. There were two challenges: react in the right direction and don't overcorrect. I kept saying to myself, Brian, don't reenact the dodge the skunk trick. So there I was, weaving my way through El Paso, desperately trying to stay off of everybody and trying to keep from spilling my cup all over everything. I could see that, by the way, a few people honked at me that thought I was either drunk or some tobacco chewing hayseed in an old pickup that couldn't drive very well, and they were afraid I was going to stack them up. Where the opportunity angle comes in is that I enjoyed playing out that role at about 3 p.m. and later that night I joined Roberta and the kids at a party at a 20,000 plus square foot house that cost between $8 and $9 million to build. It's excellent, elegant. I had been thinking during the day that the opportunity to play out the later role sort of typifies the whole thing in one day's time. The trip was great, other than feeling between my shoulder blades like I'd been driving the tractor all day. I feel better than I thought I would after being up almost round the clock. I had cloud cover until past Pecos. Both legs are blistered on top from the sun and rubbed raw on the back from the wires of the seat cushion. We are thrilled to have the pickup out here, Dale. Thanks. I feel like we made a few memories and revived a lot of others. We'll surely laugh a lot about Annetta's walk in the sun and a few other things. I wanted to write this letter to you before I have to force my mind back into this century tomorrow. I'm so grateful for everything and everybody who has had a part. No amount of money could buy from me the memories I have of then. No amount of money could pay me to go back and do it again. I love you both, Brian.